Good morning, everybody. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got Gas, the morning edition. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Great American Auto Scene here every Monday through Friday to see you. And I hope you see us or listen to us, depending on how you're viewing or listening to Gas. Gas is on multiple platforms, both video and audio, and glad that you're tuning in. Today we're going to talk about a small subject. It's actually a tiny subject. It's Tiny Car Thursday, and we're going to talk about some of the smallest cars that have been sold worldwide. Not all of them. We're going to probably miss a few because there are some that really don't even qualify as a car. There's one in Japan that'll do 4 miles an hour, and it's basically a chair that's powered autonomously to get elderly people to and from the doctor's office. It travels at a hair-raising 4 miles an hour, so we're not even going to count that. But if we do count cars of that nature, Briggs and Stratton, the people that make the little single-cylinder lawnmower engines, they had a car back in the early 1900s. It was basically a piece of wood with a Briggs and Stratton engine, 4 tires, and a steering wheel. The first tiny car. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about cars you may be familiar with, and you may not be. One of the ones that most people are familiar with nowadays is the Mercedes-Benz Smart for 2. How smart was it for 2? Yeah, depends on your viewpoint. Now, I've driven one of these. As a matter of fact, I drove an electrified version. Yeah, they've got an all-electric version of these. And at the very least, it was scary. The reason, and this is a reason for any of the mini cars, people just don't see them. They're small. They're little objects, and sometimes people don't notice them, much like they don't notice a motorcycle. Now, I drove the electric version and was able to travel a scant 25 miles on half a charge. Okay, we were traveling at freeway speeds. There were 2 of us in the car. That was scary in itself, but it was a car for many people. Smart for 2 sold over 1.7 million cars by 2015. They're no longer available here in the United States. There's the City EL. Now, this is kind of a interesting machine in that it is a center section convertible. It's kind of like a Target top. It seats 1 person. It's got a neat looking styling to it. It's a 3-wheeler. And as we know, 3-wheelers are inherently unstable. Only when you want to turn. Going straight, they're fine. It's turning that's the problem. Well, this vehicle is built in Germany by Citycom GmbH. The car is shaped like a boat when you look at it from a distance, but the design is, opening is rather spaceship-like. It's an entire top half of the vehicle hinges forward to allow the driver to get in, and much like a Messerschmitt did. Now, a Messerschmitt, we'll talk about those in a little bit too. That was a tiny little car back in the 50s and early 60s. Okay, the next one is the Renault Twisty, or Twizy, Twizy. Not available here in the United States, nor is the previous one. And it basically looks like a egg with 4 wheels that stick out with little fenders over them. Yeah, it is an odd-looking little car. It's roundish in shape. It's where small matters, and if you happen to be in a small area, like the narrow, winding streets in Europe, it's a great car, provided you don't want to get very far. There's the Shen Gohan Noble. Now, this is a tiny little car. It seats 4 people, and it looks much like a Smart for 2. As a matter of fact, so much so that Mercedes sued them. Of course, they lost every lawsuit because, unlike the Mercedes, the engine for this one is in the front. Mercedes Smart for 2 is in the rear. This seats 4 people. The Mercedes Smart for 2 seats 2 people. Well, they went in every country they could to sue, and they tried, but you know what? They didn't win. And the car is available in many countries just not here. It's produced in China, and, well, it's a tiny car. The Corbin Sparrow Jelly Bean. And just like its name infers, it looks like a jelly bean. Actually, kind of looks like a small shoe. It's another three-wheel car, but it's a little bit more stable in that the front is two wheels. The rear is a single wheel. That makes it a little bit more stable. This also seats one person. It's kind of radical looking, kind of neat looking, and that's about as far as it goes. Now, it has a top speed of 75 miles an hour. I don't think I'd want to be in this car doing 75 miles an hour, but it's there. And, well, if you need one, it's available. I just don't know where. Now we're going into some history here. The Bmw Iseta. This was a car that helped save the BMW car company. Back in the 1950s, after World War II, people were starved for cars, but they were also starved for fuel in Europe. It was a very difficult time for them during their rebuilding. You got to remember, during World War II, the majority of the damage was in Japan and Europe, and Germany took a big hit. So BMW, working with a appliance manufacturer, yes, they did, they built the Iseta. Now, it was available in four-wheel and three-wheel configurations, two wheels up front, one or two wheels in the back. And the reason for that was, in some places, with the single wheel in the back, it could be registered as a motorcycle, saving the owner registration fees and taxes and so forth. The front door was taken directly from a refrigerator. Yes, that's right, a refrigerator. They cut a hole in it for a windshield, put a wiper on it, connected the steering wheel to a post on it, and the door would open in the front. One door in the front. Now, I saw a picture in a newspaper when I lived in New York as a kid where someone had parked one of these on a street, and the car behind it parked right up to its bumper, and the car in the front parked right up to its bumper, which meant it was right up to the front door, which meant the owner could not get in the car until the owner of the car in front of him or behind him showed up so he could somehow move the car to get in. Interesting little car. It saved BMW, and they are coveted now. Its selling prices somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000 if you can find a good one. They had a whopping 13 horsepower. But the fuel mileage was 78 miles per gallon. So, guess what? People gravitated to them there. It's a single-cylinder car. Then there's the car called the Buddy. Yeah, Buddy. B-U-D-D-Y. That's it. Buddy. That's all it is. The Buddy. All right, so we'll take a look at this one. It's electric. Okay, so people like electric cars. It has a range of 12 to 37 miles. 12 to 37 miles? Depends on the season and your driving style. Okay. It's got one little bench seat. You can drive up to 50 miles an hour, but that gets you 12 miles in distance. So don't go far because it just hasn't got the power. There's the Revia, or Revai, R-E-V-A-I. Now, it's a cute little car. It looks like a conventional car that just shrunk. It's tiny. It's kind of nice looking. Kind of looks like a little bit of a shrunk SUV, I guess you could say. It's available in the UK. And Top Gear presenters were terrorized when they drove it. But it's kind of neat looking. And they say, don't take it on the highways. Side streets, that's about your only place or best place to put it. Hi, Troy Light and Larry Mulhauser. How are you doing this morning? All right, one of the original tiny cars, and I would love to have one of these, is the Honda Fiat 500. Now, today's standards, the Fiat 500 are small, especially in comparison to the new Fiats that are out there. That little Fiat is bigger than the previous one. But you got to remember, in the 1950s, gas starved and streets were very narrow in Europe. This car was excellent. It produced and fed the post-war World War II market and the global boom on economy, and Abarth modified these little babies to make them into race cars. Not very fast, but they were race cars, and they were cool looking. I've got a friend that's got the Abarth version of this Fiat 500, and he loves it. He's 6 foot something. How he gets in it, I don't know. But I tell you what, they're cool looking little cars. And it was the outgrowth of the Fiat Topolino, which dated back to the 30s and was Fiat's answer to the Volkswagen Beetle. I had one of those, the Beetle and the Fiat Topolino. Check it out. All right, Vespa, who we know makes scooters, also made a car. The Piaggio Vespa 400, a very conventional looking car. Standard looking hood, got a trunk lid. The doors opened up reverse, suicide style. They're tiny little cars, but they were kind of neat and really did look like a car. Little coupe model. And they worked pretty good. Another high horsepower car, though. 12 full horsepower. Now, it's interesting. It only was in production for about 6 years. There's the Gogomobile Dart. Now, Gogomobile made this cool-looking little car. I mean, it looks like a sports car. It really is cool. As a matter of fact, it looks just like what you would find at Disneyland on their Autotopia ride. Really, it does. Look at it. Google it. The Gogomobile Dart. It was a cool little fiberglass-bodied sports car, and it was just neat. Convertible top, and you could go out and you could drive this thing, and I don't know, it looks like if you turned it over, it might even float. But anyway, the Gogomobile Dart. Cool looking little car. No doors, so to get in, you probably had to take the top off of the car, not you. Then there was the Foldmobile. Okay. Now this one looks like an old Tatra from the 40s and 30s. And it's another German innovation. While BMW and Mercedes were producing their cars, this company called Elektromaschinenbau Fulda, GmbH, was producing the Foldmobiles. Perhaps it was just a bulky luggage or lagging exterior, but it was kind of roundish and neat looking. It was kind of a bubble car. And like I said, it looks like about a 1937 Tatra in shrunk form. It's got a little bitty rear window and a hatch, doors on each side that open suicide style. But it was a cool looking little car. And, well, you might want to find one of these someday. There was the Twiki. Okay, now this looks more like a bicycle with a roof. Well, it's not a bicycle. It's got 3 wheels. They look like they came off a bicycle. The Twiki is constructed in the world's, it's a contraction of the words twin and bike. See, I told you it was kind of like a bike. You pedal this vehicle. That's right. Pedal power. So, nice looking bucket seats. It holds 2 people. Hopefully they both have pedals because there is no way one person is going to get this baby moving. It looks interesting. It's very aerodynamic. You like pedaling? This is the one to get. Autobiachi Ferganacino. Now, this was a little bitty truck. The Autobiachi was an Italian auto manufacturer that produced mini cars. The company used to produce the Bonacina, which was a lookalike for the Fiat 500. However, they came out with something a little bit different, and this was a van. It was a cool-looking little van, too, you know, for delivering small items. And it was a small car. Now, not much smaller than the Fiat 500, so it was right in line with those. Yeah, Larry Mulhauser's telling me he had a Fiat 500 with a sliding roof and a 2-cylinder engine. Yeah, and Eddie Caitlin's watching us right now. Vote for Eddie on Dream Choppers. Rapid Robbie Roth is watching us as well. All right, so what was the hauling capacity of this little truck? 2 plastic toy cars. That's it. No, actually, you could get pretty good in there. It was probably had a 500-pound weight limit that you could put in it, but it really looked like a real car. It just was small. The commuter cars Tango. All right, take a Smart for two, cut it in half, and make it a single-seater. And that's what this thing looks like. Would I want to drive it? Oh, no, not at all. Now, it does have a back seat. All right, it's a padded parcel shelf. You got a kid, you can put the kid in the back. But why would you? This car is tiny, tiny. As a matter of fact, it's pulled into a parking spot in the photograph I'm looking, and it's parked nose to the curb, and it still doesn't stick out past the Ferrari it's parked next to, or in front of. But it fits between two vehicles that are parked, giving just enough room for each of those to pull out, if this little commuter car Tango wasn't there. Okay. Now, it's actually owned, the one I'm looking, it's owned by George Clooney. Not only does he drive this car, but it appeared in the media to explain and promote the car. Really? The second owner of the car, as part of an April Fool's Day joke, parked it in between these two cars. All right, Think City. Now, this is kind of an interesting looking car. It looks quite conventional. It looks like its headlights are bigger than the front of the car, but it's got two headlights. It looks like a conventional car. It actually is kind of nice looking, and it is a global car with a mile-per-hour range of about 68 and a 99-mile distance you can travel on the batteries between charges. Okay. It's kind of neat. The production run was short-lived, though. It lasted from 2008 to 2011 in Europe and 2010 to 2012 in the U.S. I have never seen one of these things before, but it is not a bad-looking little car. The Mitsubishi 360. Now, the one that I'm looking at is a pickup truck, and it's kind of cool. It'd be great for around town in Yokohama or someplace in Japan, but yeah, Pete, I'm seeing the green flashing on the screen too, but I have no idea what it is. All right, so this is kind of small little car, 60-ish in looks, and, well, if you need a small pickup truck that can carry very little, it does remind me a little bit of the Crosley pickup trucks that were produced here after World War II. The Peel P550. Yeah, okay. This thing is small. Now, where would you see some of these small cars if you wanted to? The Lane Museum in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, I've been there. I've taken a look at these small cars there, and it is an amazing little place to go to. Actually, it's not a little place. It's a good-sized automotive museum, and they spotlight these tiny cars. Check it out when you're there. I go back to Bowling Green every year to do the Holly National Hot Rod Reunion, and we fly into Nashville. On our way back, we get back to Nashville a little bit early so we can go through the Lane Museum and check these out. But Lane Museum's got a great collection of these tiny cars. Go out and see them. I think you'll enjoy it. The Lane Museum and tiny cars. The place to be, the place to see in the USA. All right, folks, I'm Hot Rod Bob. You've got gas. Enough small talk. We're going on to real cars tomorrow. All right, it's Thursday. Tiny Car Thursday, You've Got Gas, the morning edition, the Great American Auto Scene. You can see us on YouTube, listen to us on Anchor FM, Apple iTunes, and more. I'm Hot Rod Bob. You've Got Gas, the Great American Auto Scene, presented by Service Tech Equipment in Simi Valley, California, Irwindale Drag Strip and Speedway, Moon Eyes, Valley Head Service. Check us out. I'm Hot Rod Bob. You have a great day.